Hey guys, it's Whitney. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a book haul for you guys. A fairly long overdue book haul. I'm not intentionally doing these quarterly, but it seems to just be happening that way. So this is our third book haul of 2020. I have quite an array of books here to share with you guys. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with some young adult books. The first one that I have is Felix Ever After, which is a YA contemporary. This is a story about a trans teen named Felix who is publicly outed and dead named at his school, and he sort of goes on this mission to figure out who did it by creating an Instagram and trying to draw them out. Kind of like catfishing, but they're not trying to make someone like fall in love with them, if you get what I'm saying. The next book I have is a fairly popular one here recently, and that is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. It's the first book in a YA fantasy duology. It follows the point of view of two different characters. One is a refugee from a war-torn country, and the other is a crown princess. The refugee's sister is abducted by a vengeful spirit, and he makes a deal with the spirit to kill the crown princess. And the crown princess is attempting to resurrect her dead mother, which all of that sounds good to me. But also, there is a competition that both of these characters enter, and one of my favorite tropes is like competitions, magical tournaments and things like that. So I don't know if this is a magical tournament. I don't know, but I'm sure hoping it is. Next, I have Kingdom of Souls. This is one that since I heard about it, I've wanted it, but I didn't really care for the US cover, and I kept seeing this cover around, which I love. So I decided I was gonna get it for myself, even though I don't really know all that much about this book. What I do know is that this is about a girl who is from a family of witch doctors, and she doesn't seem to have come into her powers yet, and she wants to make that happen sooner or something like that. Like I said, I don't know all the details about this one, which is okay by me because I tend to find that a lot of summaries give too much of a book away anyway. So I'm good with just like that foreknowledge. The next one I have is Ghostwood Song, which has a YA snake on the cover, which I didn't notice until just now. Oh, look, he's on the back too. This one was sort of an impulse buy because I heard that there was a bi character in it, and I don't know if that's actually true or not, but either way, it sounds really interesting. This one is about a girl who can use a fiddle made of bone, I believe, to raise spirits from the dead. And it also has to do with her brother who was just accused of murder and her trying to keep what family she has left together. So now I want to go through a couple of graphic novels. I only have a few here, so if you are not interested in those, feel free to skip them. There are definitely more books next, but there are just a couple of these, so I felt like I should just go ahead and do those real quick, get them out of the way. The first one is the Shades of Magic Steel Prince Rebel Army graphic novel. This is the third one in the Steel Prince series. This is the Rebel Army arc. Story arc. It's really confusing because it's got like 3 titles. It's got Shades of Magic, Steel Prince, and the Rebel Army. It's pretty well known that I like Victoria Schwab and especially the Shades of Magic world. My whole channel is named after it. So I don't feel like me getting this is a surprise to anyone. If you don't already know, this series follows King Maxim, Rai and Kel's father when he was Prince Maxim, and sort of everything around that and how he got his nickname, the Steel Prince. The next one I have is Rat Queens Volume 7. I originally wasn't gonna pick up any more volumes of Rat Queen because of all of the drama with the artists and the writer and just honestly almost everything with this series, but there is a new creative team on board with the series, so I'm gonna give it another chance, and if it doesn't go well, then I'll probably stop picking up this series, but we will just see how it goes. I will say that I really like the artwork. I'm not really sure how much of this you guys will be able to see, but I really like it. Oh god, things fell down. There's a ghost in this house. So the next thing I have is part graphic novel, part art book from what it looks like. And that is Nema by Ross Tran. This is something that I helped fund a Kickstarter for back in 2017, and it just arrived earlier this year. And to be honest, I was a little unsure of whether or not this was actually going to just come together at all. But it did, and it is beautiful, and it was well worth the wait. I'm just gonna hit myself in the face with this a couple of times so that I can find a good, oh, look at it, it's so pretty. I don't know what it's about because I haven't read it yet, and we weren't really given any details on the story, and there's no like summary on the back, and I haven't went to look and see if there is one on like Goodreads or something, and I don't really think that's on Goodreads, but anyway, it's stunning and I'm so happy to have it. Next up, I have the For The Game Trilogy. I'm trash, and I'll admit it. This series is very problematic. Is rough. The characters do bad things. Yeah, there's like torture and all kinds of things along with sports stuff in here. So I guess if you don't know what it's about, it is about a boy who is basically pretending to be someone he's not in order to hide from his father, who is essentially sort of like a mobster, sort of. But he's really good at this fictional sport called Xe, and he ends up being recruited by a college and going to do that, and that is sort of where this series starts. So if you're unfamiliar, the first book is The Foxhole Court, the second book is The Raven King, and the third book is All the King's Men. I believe that is the correct order. Next up, I have a couple of novellas that I picked up. I've been in the mood for short fiction. Not necessarily short stories, but just like easy to read, shorter books, so novellas. The first one I got, I didn't realize had a first book, but I went ahead and got it, and supposedly you can read it without reading that first book and it not be a problem, and that is A Taste of Honey. The first book is The Sorcerer of Wild's Deep or something like that, but this is its sequel. It is a fantasy novella, which is what I was looking for. I like that tight world building. I don't really like to know too much about novellas going in just because they are so short. I'm afraid that if I read the synopsis, then I'm gonna be just spoiled for the entire book. With that being said, the second one that I got is The Black God's Drum, which sounds fantastic. This is like an alternate version of New Orleans that has sort of a, I don't want to say steampunk, but it's got airships in it. This is about a girl named Creeper who wants to secure passage on an airship, and she does so by using secrets about a kidnapped Haitian scientist and a weapon called the Black God's Drum. She also may or may not have divine powers. Do we want to dive into fantasy, or do we want to dive into some of the miscellaneous things, or the two miscellaneous things that I have? I think let's do that, and then we'll dive into our fantasy. So the first sort of miscellaneous thing, and by miscellaneous I mean it's like horror, thriller, suspense, and this one specifically has some paranormal aspects to it. So the first one is I Come With Knives by S.A. Hunt. Oh my god, I've fallen freaking in love with this series, and I'm probably never gonna shut up about it. All I'm gonna say, because I cannot say more without spoilers, is a witch hunter with a YouTube channel. Oh my god, it's so good. Alright, moving on, we have The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a horror thriller suspense. Like I said, I don't know exactly what their category is, but I believe this one is horror. I don't know a whole lot about this because I feel like if I read the summary, I'm gonna spoil myself, especially for horror. I feel like at this point, synopsis and summaries and stuff in general, just like, there's too much information. So most of the time I feel like I'm gonna spoil myself, but this one has a very small summary in the front. The Only Good Indians follows 4 American Indian men after a disturbing event in their youth puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. Tracked by an entity bent on retribution, these childhood friends are helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind to catch up to them in a violent, vengeful way. Yes. So lastly, we have some adult fantasy books, and I'm excited. So the first one is The Gilded Cage. I'm starting with this one because I know the least about it. It apparently follows two siblings. One of the siblings works as a servant and falls in love with one of the noble-born sons, which leads her to being able to discover a lot of their hidden secrets. The other is enslaved in a factory town and is sort of becoming involved in a revolution with these other people. Then we have this other, like, mysterious point of view. It says that this person is an aristocrat who will remake the world with his dark gifts. I have gotten this book highly recommended from a friend of mine on Twitter. I trust their opinion on books, even if sometimes we don't end up liking all of the same things. I really feel like this is one that is very up my alley. The next book I have is The Last Smile in Sunder City. This is a fantasy in which we are exploring a world where the magic is no longer there, but all of the monsters still are. So the actual summary of this is very vague. So it kind of is just what I told you. This is a world where the magic is gone, but the monsters are not. And we follow a character who is for hire. On the back it says, "I'm Fetch Phillips," just like it says on the window. "There are a few things you should know before you hire me. 1. Sobriety costs extra. 2. My services are confidential. And 3. I don't work for humans. It's nothing personal. I'm human myself, but after what happened to the magic, it's not humans who need my help." The next book that I got is Lord of Secrets. This one I actually picked up because I saw that it was on a list of queer SFF books, and I didn't read the summary, not in depth, but the tagline on the front got me really interested in it to begin with. And it says, if you cannot see it, magic is poison, secrets are power, death is complicated. Also, it says, a fast-paced necromantic adventure. I was alarmed and delighted at every turn. This is from Emily Tesh, who wrote Silver in the Wood. So, if you take her recommendation for anything, then you might want to pick this one up. Oh, this next one I am so excited for, and that is First Sister. This was pitched to me as The Handmaid's Tale meets Red Rising. How? I need to know. This is also a sci-fi, so I'm interested to see how that all goes together. I cannot express how excited I am for this book. First Sister has no name, no voice, and no agency. The sisterhood forced her into the role of comfort woman for soldiers of Earth and Mars, who own the rights to her body and soul, but no more. This is her story. Okay, alright, yeah, so that's that one. I am so ready for this. The next one they have is Ruin of Kings. I actually picked this one up because I found out that it has a bisexual character in it. That's really all I needed to know because I've been looking for more queer fantasy books. Found it for a really good price, which is the only reason I even picked this up to begin with. It's one of those that I am gonna jump into just blind, and we'll see how it goes. It is a fantasy, so hopefully I'll like it. Next up, I have Empire of Gold, which is one that I have been looking forward to for a year or more, and I'm so excited to have this. This is the third book in the Daevabad trilogy, and I am terrified to find out what this has in store for me. I really like what it says on the inside of this dust jacket about just like the trilogy in general. It says, the final chapter in the best-selling, critically acclaimed Daevabad trilogy, in which a con woman and an idealistic Djinn prince join forces to save a magical kingdom from a devastating civil war. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. I just want to say that if you're watching this and you're on the fence about picking up City of Brass, I personally would highly recommend that you do so. So I saved the best for last in as far as talking points and why I purchased it. And I picked up Harrow the Ninth. A lot of you will probably know that I read Gideon the Ninth as an arc, and I gave it a 2 stars. And for the majority of books, if I were to give it 2 stars, I would 100% never pick up the second book. But I liked a lot of things about Gideon the Ninth. I thought overall it was interesting and it had good bones. So a couple of things made me decide to go ahead and pick this one up. One is a friend of mine on Twitter. I asked about how the second book was, and I was told that it is sort of Harrow processing the trauma of what happened in the first book, which is amazing, and I'm here for that. That sort of tells me that there might be a lot of character development in this book. There's only one other series that has made me pick up a book after reading the first book low, and that was the Bone Season. I have the second book and I do intend to read it. The second factor in me picking up this book is that there is a blurb on the front from B. Schwab, and we all know I'm a little bit of a sucker when it comes to B. Schwab, right? I feel like we do. And the blurb says, unlike anything I've ever read, the writing is as sharp as a broken tooth and just as unsettling, and I'm here for that. If I don't like this second book, I won't be continuing on to the third one, but if I do, this will be one of those weird series that just goes up from the first one instead of down, which is how they typically go. So those were all of the books that I've gotten over the past couple of months. If you guys picked up any of these books as well and would like to do a buddy read, please let me know down below. I love buddy reads. I love talking with you guys. But that is it for today, and I will talk to you guys next time.